If you were to come up to our student ministry on a Sunday morning or on a Wednesday night, this is the place where teenagers are just hanging out, which honestly is a blessing for me to see, because it is the fruit of creating a ministry that is focused on community. When I first got here, we had a great student ministry, but it was oftentimes segregated into friend groups or age groups or even what school you went to. And so one of my strategies coming in, one of my goals coming in, was to really make our student ministry all about community, to where we're one big family. We're all in this together. And so if you look at the floors, there's a space that's carpet, and then we have the hardwood that's part of the hallways. Everything that was carpet was a room. It was actually 2 rooms. And so across this way was a wall, and then around the square where the ping pong table was located was also a wall. But when I came back, I was trying to think, how do we create more space for our students to hang out? But one of the challenges with having a hallway is if you don't have spaces for people to sit and hang out, they just go to their classrooms and they're not fellowshipping, they're not engaging with other students. I had the idea to take these walls out and to open all this up, which was a bold strategy. It was a scary strategy because we needed the closet, we needed Sunday school rooms. Opening this up has been one of the best decisions we've made. It's just changed the dynamic of our students. It's changed the atmosphere on Sundays and Wednesdays before we go into a teaching time. And just created more community. So this is our main gathering room for student ministry, and there's some things I love about it, there's some things I don't love about it, but there are a few things tucked away on this side of the room that I do love, and so I wanted to point them out. When we were out in the main gathering area, I talked about how we lost a closet in order to open up and have space. Well, we need closet space. It's not something we could really do without, and so these 2 corners are closets that we added. They weren't here before, and I know that sounds so simple, but it has been such a win for us, because what we've gained out there is far more advantageous to what we've lost in here. When you look at our room, one of the things that I don't love about it is that it's very skinny and very long. And so we'll talk about some of the challenges with that, but that means that we're never going to put chairs over here in this corner, especially this corner. Like, it's the front of the room, and we're hardly ever going to put a chair all the way in the back corner. So by losing these corners, we gained so much closet space, but didn't lose what the room is. And so that was a big win for us. And then this is one of my favorite things that we've added to our student ministry here. This is our resource wall, and my goal is to equip students on how to follow Jesus all on their own, because I can't do it for them. They have to do it on their own. And so everything on this wall is free. These books are books that we have purchased and made available, and a student can take it, read it. They can bring it back if they want to, or they can hold on to it forever. They can write in it, they can highlight, they can do whatever they need to do. Now, I've tried to tell them, if you see a phone or if you see an iPad that we've actually, those aren't free. But if there's a book on these shelves, they are free to you, and they're supposed to be a resource for your walk with Christ. Speaking of phones and tablets, one of the things that we have done with our Wednesday night ministry is that we have our kids take their phones. They don't need them. We're teaching, we're reading God's word, we're worshiping, and the phones are just a distraction. Even if you leave it in your pocket the entire time, every vibration sends your brain in another direction. And it's just a temptation that they don't need. So on Wednesday nights, we take these boxes, we have some tables set out, and we put all these boxes on the tables, and students walk in and they drop their phone in their respective box. And then after our teaching, we go to small groups, and our small group leaders take the box to their small group room, and that's when they get their phones back. And so our students really have not fought this. They've been all on board, and it's been a huge benefit to our ministry to not have to worry about that. They come in and they're focused on what we're doing.
How did you kind of kickstart that? Like, obviously you're at the point where you've done it for several years now, but how did it?
And so we kind of did a slow progression, especially the fact that they put their phones in a box that's on this side of the room, and then they go to that side of the room to sit down. What we started with is we put boxes underneath the chairs, and I think the first few times we did it, I just asked them to put their phones on the floor underneath their chair. But then it slowly developed into, we would have a box per row, and we would just have them pass the box down, place their phone in the box, and put it back under the chair. So we didn't really take it. They just kind of put it underneath the chair. But then we realized that was taking a lot of time and a lot of disruption to say, all right, now everybody pass the phone box, everybody. And so then we transitioned to putting the boxes on the table. And again, our students have adapted and been super willing to be a part of that. And I think they enjoy having a distraction-free time frame. Like I said, there's things about this room that I love, and there's things that I don't love. One of the things that I don't love about is, like so many other areas of our church, this room has to serve multiple purposes. So you'll see movable walls there, movable walls there, movable walls there, and movable walls there. I don't love the fact that anytime we want to make this place a small group room, we have to move these walls, and the sad reality is on Sundays we have to. We don't have enough small group rooms to divide up the way that we would like, and so we have to slide those walls and these walls down and create 2 rooms on opposite ends in order to have our Sunday school rooms. And the worst part about it is that it doesn't allow the big room to be the big room. And so it limits the way we can decorate. It limits the way any changes that we want to make, we can't really make. Even from a sound system standpoint, our main speakers are actually in the small group rooms. And so if the walls are up, you don't even have the full sound system. When I first got here, there was a stage that was about 2 feet tall and came out to about right here. And so one, you take a room that's already skinny, and now you have this massive stage that's taken up almost half the depth of the room. And then where the camera is now is actually a sound booth. And so you even had a built-in sound booth that made this room even smaller. And as our numbers grew, as more students started coming, we were having to fan out. That's just hard. If I'm standing right here on a 2-foot stage, so really like up, and I'm teaching, and somebody's way over there, it's just hard to connect. And so the stage was ripped out, and this stage did have legs, so it was actually up a little bit when we first started. But we have a student in our student ministry who is faithful to our student ministry. He's a great kid, but he's wheelchair bound, and he is one of our worship leaders. He has a great voice. He's actually learning guitar right now, so he's playing guitar for us a little bit too. And he wanted to be a part of the worship team, and I was not going to let the stage be the reason why he couldn't. So at first, we even had a ramp that would help him get up, but it was hard. It was something we had to move back and forth. And so I was like, you know what? We don't have to be elevated. We can stand right here. And so we kept the stage platform so that there at least is a stage. There's some dedicated space to the stage, but we made it to where he can hop right up. I also love the fact that we're no longer trying to bring the band forward, and we're just spreading them out. That helps with being able to utilize the room. Again, with a room that is wide and narrow, we want the students to be right here. And so we've been able to do that. We can easily fit about 140, 150 people. Once we get beyond that, it does feel crammed. And so there are some weeks where we still feel crammed. But a lot of times our students will fill up the chairs, and our adults will either sit on the couches or the chairs against the wall, or kind of hang out even in the hallway and just kind of listen in, depending on how full the room is. Our worship team is all students, and then one adult who helps play guitar and lead. And so our students, thankfully, are gifted, and they love serving the Lord in that way. My goal when we first put these letters on the wall was to have LEDs behind them. But then I just felt like it was going to be too much. It was going to be too flashy. And while I do want this place to look cool, ultimately we're here for Jesus, and we're here to open His Word and to worship. And I just felt like that may have been a little much. Not saying we'll never do it, but with the one strip running behind is kind of sufficient. Yeah, if we could do this over, I would love just to have a bigger room. One of the difficulties, and a room that we don't have to move walls all the time. And so it does stink that on Wednesday nights it looks like this, but on Sunday mornings it looks completely different. And then it also means we have to move our chairs around, which again, it's not a big deal, but it becomes labor and burdensome that every week you're moving chairs, every week you're moving walls, every week a room is being created and being transformed and being transitioned to something else. I think that is when it's narrow, there are times that it feels more full than it actually is. And so I do like that. It does feel intimate. When I'm teaching, I'm not like way far away from the students. You know, I can reach out and give them a high five if I wanted to, and I like that. I want everything we do to be personal and to be relatable, not that they're just sitting in a lecture or something like that.
So obviously the space is a big part of it. It couldn't happen without it necessarily.
Absolutely.
But what are some things you've done to actually make sure community happens and there's not cliques and little groups of people? Like, how do you make sure students are actually building community? What's been some of the strategy?
So actually, I've served at Harrisburg twice, which is a unique journey that not a lot of people who work in churches get to experience. But when I returned to Harrisburg, it was a blessing and a curse because I came in January of 2020. We all know what happened in 2020. And so I was here for 3 months and COVID hits. Coming in, one of my big strategies, or one of my big goals was community. I had some history with this student ministry because I had served here before, so I knew what some of the struggles were. I knew what some of the advantages were. And so, again, a blessing and a curse. COVID was a blessing in the sense that it kind of tore down all the walls of what student ministry was supposed to be. And you had to think, there was no longer a box. Like, there was no longer, we do it this way, we do it this way, we do it this way. You had to get creative. And so in that, it allowed me to get creative. The curse is, it was so challenging to do anything during that time. But in that time, we focused on relationships. So when we were together as a church, we wanted to actually be together. One of the ways I did that is on Sunday nights, we would have a gathering and we would do some of the teaching stuff. But then after that, we would go to someone's house. I think you may have been at some of those on the tail end of your high school years, where we would go to somebody's house, we would eat food, no Bible study, and just fellowship. And we would play games, we would laugh, we would make jokes, but we would just be together. And over time, I watched that develop into a community. It was no longer about what school do you go to or what grade are you in. It was about, oh no, like we both go to Harrisburg and we can be united in that. And so that wasn't the only thing we did, but that was our Sunday night fellowships was a key pivot in watching that happen. And then we got strategic with the way we did our fall retreat. We got strategic with the way that we would do Disciple Nows and just making our kids be together. Sometimes that's half the battle, is forcing them to be together. So even to this day, like when we have fall retreat and we split into teams, we have competition throughout the entire retreat, but every team is split up between guys and girls of every grade. And like, I get real meticulous about, like I sit at my desk and I write down the name of every student based on what grade they are and if they're a guy or a girl. And I start with one grade and one gender and I spread them all out. And then I go to the next and I spread them all out so that every team has a representative of every grade, every school, every person. And then they're a team for a whole weekend. They may not be best friends after, but they'll have that memory of being a team together. And so some of that has leaked into our Sundays and Wednesdays, and we've been able to see that fruit. But opening up these walls was the first step, and creating a space where when relationships were built, they could happen here too. Sunday morning moment where we're all together, and I either give encouragement, give an